What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Health Podcast. Glad to have you back today on another episode. On today's show, we are diving into a much requested topic, self-sabotage. Guys, if you are currently on a weight loss journey, you've ever been in one, or you're planning to start one, this is something you've probably been faced with, right? I don't think I've ever come across anybody that hasn't been faced with self-sabotage before. So we're going to be talking a lot about that. Now, before we dive in, just as a reminder, you guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean a ton to me if you could take a screenshot of this, upload it to your stories. And in case you haven't seen, I'm also now uploading these to YouTube as well. So if you'd rather watch this rather than just listening to on a podcast, it's on there and that's available for you. All right, so let's dive in. Let's talk about what is self-sabotage. According to Psychology Today, it is behavior that is said to be self-sabotaging when it creates problems in daily life and interferes with long-standing goals. But why do people self-sabotage? And a couple of these may ring true to you guys. Is it because of boredom? You're just tired of eating healthy foods. You're tired of exercising. Tired of sticking to a routine. James Clear in Atomic Habits said it best. The greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. I think that's one of the biggest things I hear from a lot of people is they get so bored with the monotonous tasks that you have to do day to day, the boring work, because that's the boring work is because it's what's going to move you forward. Or is it maybe you've been listening to too much conflicting info? You're ready to jump ship every time you hear about the new diet that Karen at the office is doing. You know, you see a success story online, they put up a before and after picture of somebody who lost, 100 pounds, and you're like, I want to do what they did. It worked for them, so it's got to work for me. When you haven't even stuck to your own diet for 2 weeks, maybe not even 2 days. Maybe you're restricting yourself too much. Are you doing this in an unsustainable way? Are you trying to look for the fastest way that you can get to your goals? Just the slightest uptick, guys, in your restriction level could lead to a full-out binge episode. Do you have a desire to feel normal and eat what you want? Do you ever get that thought in your head? Everyone else just gets to eat whatever they want. It's not fair. And you just try to get out of a diet, even if it is working for you. And lastly, are you afraid of actually seeing results? I know that makes no sense, right? But you might be subconsciously think that if I get to the goal weight that I'm shooting for, I'm going to have to show up differently in the world. And it scares me. You think that other people will be jealous if you lose the weight and they may stop hanging out with you. You believe that people notice if you take action and you're not confident, you'll know how to respond to that input. Guys, one of the biggest things I notice with people who partake in self-sabotage is behaviors that they're not even aware of. And as with any struggle or issue, when it comes to weight loss, if we are not aware of the problem, if it is not in front of us, we don't know what to fix. You can't have a solution if you don't know what the problem is. So we need to create that awareness and recognize the triggers, recognize the patterns and things that we notice throughout our life that identifies as self-sabotage. All right, guys, before we dive into this next piece, I'm going to let my friend Chase Tuning, who you may remember from a few episodes back, he has a little something to share with you.
Hello, new friends. My name is Chase Tuning, and like you, I have worn a lot of hats over the years, both personally and professionally. I'm an Army veteran, certified health coach, husband, dog dad, conscious creative, wellness entrepreneur, and just someone who is hungry for more. Someone that is looking to connect as many dots as possible to live a fully integrated and optimized life. That's exactly what you can expect to hear over on my podcast, Ever Forward Radio. Fitness, nutrition, relationships, mindset, personal and professional life, and everything in between. I'm interviewing industry leaders in entrepreneurship, business, wellness, spirituality, medicine, musicians, celebrities, and so much more. Much like the content you enjoy here on this podcast, I guarantee you're going to love Ever Forward Radio just as much. Tune in every Monday and Wednesday wherever you enjoy podcasts, or check out everforwardradio.com.
All right, so let's break down what are a few examples of how self-sabotage may come up. Negative thinking, that glass half empty thinker. Maybe you lose 3 or 4 pounds, but you instantly think, but I still have 25 more pounds to lose. Maybe it's fear of failure, which is often a fear of success, like I mentioned above. Is it negative self-talk? How do you talk to yourself? Do you beat yourself up every time you fall off the wagon? Are you constantly criticizing every little mistake you make? Ask yourself, is the way you're talking to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend? If your best friend came to you and said, gosh, man, I was doing so well on this diet, and I had a big slice of cake last night. I didn't even track the calories, and I know I just blew it out of the water. Are you going to say, yep, you fucked up. Way to go. No. You're going to say, it's all right. No big deal. Get back on track tomorrow. But how often do you find yourself participating in that own self-talk negatively? Is it perfectionism? You're undermining the progress you make unless it's a complete transformation. Guys, the little tiny piece of the progress, you can ask any of my clients. We're always asking, what wins did we have this week? Even if it was a bad week, quote unquote, what went well? Identify your wins. There is a win in every single week. And if you tell me it's not, I'm going to challenge your thinking, and I want to challenge you to find a win. If you want to be successful, guys, you have to start identifying these wins and being okay with receiving these wins as wins. It does not need to be perfection. We're looking for progress. Another one is procrastination. You keep delaying things because you're trying to avoid the negative emotions that may be tied along with it, even if that prevents you from accomplishing the long-term goals that would bring you happiness or fulfillment. And think about the distractions. They make all this easier, right? Pick up your phone, social media, going out with friends. It just allows you to procrastinate even more. Do you self-generate stress? You take on way more than you can even possibly handle. And you know you can't handle it, but you do it anyways. You work on all the low priority things that really don't matter. Like, you could do all of those things, and really you're not going to make any more success than if you didn't do them at all. But you're going to leave all the big things undone that are actually going to move the needle forward. Are you focusing on the past? Do you find yourself saying, I've never been able to lose weight. I always fail at every diet. It never works. I never will. Or is it like, or similar to that, is it like Chicken Little syndrome? The sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. I have so much weight to lose. There's just no way I can ever do this. It's way too much. You're just freaking out about the things that don't even matter, guys. You're thinking way too much into this. Or is it the excuse factory? Guys, do you find yourself making excuses for everything? Everyone says you shouldn't restrict yourself. Everyone needs a cheat day, right? One bite won't matter. My body needs a break from dieting. You find these excuses, and you just constantly throw these excuses out to give yourself another reason to not do what you know you should be doing. Are you avoiding self-care? You're ignoring the warning signs that you need a break. You're denying yourself that 5-minute break to step outside of the office to take a breather because you're wound up full of stress. But then you're staying up watching Netflix until 3 a.m, trying to soothe yourself and give yourself pleasure, because you've lacked giving yourself any pleasure throughout the day, when it could be small increment doses. Now you're perceiving pleasure, and it's actually self-sabotage. And lastly, are you reinventing the wheel? This one probably resonates with a lot of you guys. I know I do this sometimes. Instead of sticking to what what works, you'd rather try something new all the time. And it's just slowing you down. You'd rather try the new fancy diet. You'd rather try the workout you've never done before. You'd rather try the new supplement, rather than just sticking to what works, the basics. All right, with that, guys, Let me ask you, how many of these were you nodding along to, saying, yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. A lot. If so, guys, here's your action steps to walk away with from this one. I want you to take out a piece of paper and maybe you took notes of the ones that I mentioned earlier, maybe not, maybe go back and listen to those, but ask yourself, which of these 5 causes the biggest negative impact on your life? We need to identify where these 5 things are coming up. Where are the patterns? Identify them. When do they happen? Why do they happen? Who are we with when it happens? What emotions are we feeling when they happen? Did we just see some success right before it happened? Once you notice the pattern, make a specific plan on what you're going to do instead. Here's an example. If you're always so negative to yourself and it's affecting how you view yourself and your self-image, I want you to make one positive comment or compliment to yourself every single day toward yourself. And every time you experience a negative thought, like you're criticizing yourself, I want you to then come up with a positive thought or compliment for yourself. We need to have a trigger for the good things. Think about all the triggers that are bad. Like maybe it's the highly palatable foods that make it impossible to stop eating. Is it visual triggers like seeing, scrolling through Pinterest or Instagram and seeing a lot of really yummy sweets and foods? Is it lingering in your pantry or staring at the fridge with the doors wide open, just looking for something to satisfy a craving that you don't even know what it is that you're craving? Or is it picking up food that maybe you've had a history of being triggered by in the past? These can all be negative triggers for you. And now that we've identified the triggers and patterns for these signs of self-sabotage when they present itself, we need to now create triggers for the positive. Worded as, when X happens, I'll do Y. For example, when I tell myself I can't lose weight, when that negative self-talk comes popping into your head, say, when I tell myself I can't lose weight, I'll come up with a recent accomplishment I've had. Doesn't have to be big, but to prove to myself that I can. And with everything, guys, progress over perfection. I can't say that you'll never have a negative emotion again. You and I both know very well that that's probably not true, right? So focus on the positive ones you're creating. And lastly, practice, 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 practice. Practice saying no more often to the things that do not serve you, and yes to more things that do. It's not going to be perfect, guys, but you have to put in the reps. You have to practice. All right, guys, I kept this episode pretty short for you today. Hopefully at the end of this, you're now able to identify where is self-sabotage coming up in your life. Identify the patterns when that's coming up, and then come up with a plan to combat each of those things, your top 5. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in for another episode of the Chasing Health Podcast. Also, please leave me a rating and review. Share it with a friend who may need to hear this. All right, guys. Take care, and I'll talk to you next week.